congratulations on the release of your new album, Better. We were reading that you really wanted to take it back to the roots on this one, and bring back the live instrumentation and have the creation of the album be organic. What made it necessary for you to go that route this time around?
I was never satisfied with what I did, so I decided on this one. And it kind of happened one day. The entire band happened to be in LA at the same time for more than just a concert. So I took all my guys in the studio, and we did 14 tracks in 2 days, and here's what you have.
Right. And I noticed, listening to the content, especially the lyrics, it really aligns with kind of what you portray on Instagram, being in love and just being happy. Was that kind of what inspired the project for the most part, just your life where you're at now?
Yeah, it's interesting that all these songs, this whole record was done in June of this year.
Wow.
And it was the label and some other considerations that made us wait this long to put it out. And our relationship has actually gotten stronger since I wrote all these songs. And it's nothing embryonic. Basically, it was kind of in the middle. We were a year or so in. And now that we're 2.5 years in, we can look back at these songs, and it really coincides with both of our Instagram. Because, the Instagram goes back to this many weeks and that many weeks. It's like, wow, it's almost like a roadmap. The songs are the roadmap, and the pictures and everything. I know that sounds like crazy coming from a guy, but
right.
It's the happiest I've ever been, and I'd say to anyone, if you don't think this exists, if it exists for me after all the shit I've done, there's hope for everyone else.
That's dope. So you released this album, Better, through your own label, and I know previously you were with E1, and you've been independent for a little while now. What is your decision like to stay independent and kind of release projects on your own? Because I know some artists like to stay with labels and kind of stick it to it that way. What makes your decision to go your own way?
It's tough either way. Even as we speak, I'm constantly being courted by the majors to come back and do that whole dance. And I hesitate. Obviously, market share is a big deal when you start talking about the economics of it, but it's hard to give up the freedom of being able to do whatever you want. Even if that means less record sales. I think most of us now are really only putting out records as promotional counties anyway at this point. So for me to be able to do the kind of records I want to do and not have to be worried about, well, okay, you got to go work with this producer, you got to go do that, and you have to sign the 360 deal here and there. I'm really not interested in that. I just want to be as creative as I possibly can be. If that being said, the right situation presents itself. A couple of them have started to look good again. We'll see, but for right now, I'm happy with that.
It's really interesting to hear you mention that labels have been courting you, not because you're not deserve it, but like we saw Tamia, another 90s artist, she went back to a major label situation after being independent for so many years and had some success there. So it would definitely be interesting to see if you were to make the same move, because she was able to create, kind of stay true to who she was. So I think it was cool for R&B.
Yeah. It's interesting for other artists that haven't been as hands-on with their career side and being the only writer and the only producer, which obviously I've worked with Puffy, I've worked with Tim Bob and some other people. It's the label people themselves sometimes that their credibility comes into play, but naively you start to think, man, you know what, having the right person in the right position to be the champion of your cause is what everyone is looking for. It's just hard to find that person in the sea of people that are making records now.
Right. So, one of our biggest frustrations in just supporting R&B is the lack of support it gets. And for an artist like yourself, we just hate that there aren't more people talking about that you've just released an album. It really bothers us because it's good music that are just missing the people that really want to hear it. So I'm just wondering, from your point of view, does it get frustrating for you that your music isn't being acknowledged in the masses like it used to be or deserves to be?
What's frustrating for me is not knowing why. In the 90s, when we ruled radio, we ruled as far as what people were buying, people bought records. Lots of people did. Sales were out of the roof. There were more records sold in the 90s than any other decade. What I don't understand is why they decided to marginalize this music even though it sold like it did for the sales that are happening now. it's not frustrating that it doesn't happen. Every generation has its own music. I just don't understand how it hasn't gone to something better.
Right.
See what I mean?
Right.
That's the frustrating part. Because again, if these kids were still selling 20 million, I mean, that decade alone, look at Baxter and myself and R. Kelly and Boys to Men. I mean, if you name act after act, if you could put them side by side with the actors today and have the same kind of sales, and all of us would be like, you know what, we're going to go quietly into the night because the music business is a great hit.
Mm-hmm.
The part that's frustrating is like, why have you sacrificed your nose just like face for what?
Right. Right. Well, that being said, how do you still find the motivation to keep creating quality music? Because I remember we had a pretty candid conversation with another prominent R&B artist who said it's just not worth the time and effort to create these masterpieces because they know that it's not going to get the attention it deserves. So how do you stay focused?
Well, I create music that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, if I can find one other person that loves it the way I do, then my job is what my job should be.
Right.
I think that if you're looking for attention and you're looking for it to be the way that it was and you've already lost the battle, I think that for myself, as frustrating as it can be at times, my love is in the creation of this music. And as long as I'm able to continue to make a living, which is great, but although it's not really from the record, it never really was. And that's a part of the argument that I don't understand when people say that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see my first royalty from 20 million sales 2 years ago from a record sale. So when you really think about what they're talking about, I don't know what it is that they're actually talking about other than the fact that people want to be back on top from a perception standpoint.
Right.
Which I understand, which is hard to deal with, particularly when you're talented, and you look at what they tend to put up on a pedestal these days, and it's like, man, that's another frustrating element, but for me it's about the craft itself.
Right.
I love to do it, and if it comes back around great, it's not, I can't stop writing songs. That's
right.
insane.
Right.
I'd blow up. I'd explode. So I think from that standpoint, I tell people all the time, you have to love this. If you don't love this, you don't do it.
Right. So are you content to, just continue creating albums and touring, or do you think that's at some point you'll just do what some other artists have done and just gone on and toured and played their previous hits? But you mentioned you love creating the music, so will that always be a constant? Keep creating?
It's hard to say. I live in the moment, and right now, this minute, I am completely happy with what I put out last week. Probably more happy than I've been in the last 10 years with any record that I've created.
Right.
So I'm gonna ride that for a second. We've booked more shows this year than we have for previous years already this year. So it's working on one level, and I guess when we take a second to look at the other opportunities that are coming our way, we'll see. But I'm happy. I have no complaints. I mean, sure, it'd be great if everybody was talking about it, but unless I'm willing to go the route that a Kanye West goes, even then I doubt that people would really talk that much about it. Of course, I could write another song about craziness.
Yeah.
That would work, but I don't know.
So your sons are also musicians and artists themselves. What's the biggest advice you've given them as they've begun their careers as artists?
It's so difficult with them because they're actually young.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in an industry, they're trying to be in an industry that doesn't seem to want anything that's real, and if they do, they definitely want anything real from somebody in the flag. That's another side of the thing that no one's really talking about. I don't get it, I don't understand that, but I guess it's the same advice. That, and I know they love it. I don't have to come from that standpoint with them, but it's just hard. I don't really know what to tell them because I grew up at a different time when anything was actually possible. I'm not sure that those things are actually possible anymore, and it's hard to tell them that because I don't want to discourage them at the same time.
Right.
So we're going to have to figure out how to catch that lightning in the bottle at a certain point to see if we can make that happen. Because they did that already. They have a song, that Marry Your Daughter song, got 100 million views on YouTube, but for some reason, the labels and the people out there don't want to touch it, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
right.
You just don't know.
What do you think it would be like for a young Brian McKnight, yourself entering the music industry? If you were to be a young artist entering now, how would you attack that?
Oh man, I think I'd go back to college. sense, but I don't see it making any sense. I don't get it.
Right. And then just final question, how do you view your legacy? Because, most R&B lovers view you as a legendary R&B artist with all you've done, in R&B over the past couple of decades, so many hits, so many quality albums. How do you view your own legacy in this industry?
I don't. I let other people write about legacies.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest with you. I don't even know what that actually means.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really knows what that is until you're gone anyway.
Right.
So I hope at some point in my career somebody, when my name is mentioned, will say, oh yeah, that guy wrote some good songs. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah. It's a lot more than that, but I think it's just
I'll take that.
I think it's just I'm a music journalist, but I'm also an R&B fan, and just making music that people can enjoy, that moves people. That's what it's all about, and you've done a great job of doing that. So I just want to applaud you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. So,